Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, AI-Powered Manufacturing. My name is Tim Long, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. We've got an incredible agenda where we're going to talk about what Snowflake and our partners are doing to help customers deliver on that promise of AI. I'll be joined today by colleagues from Landing AI, one of Snowflake's premier partners in artificial intelligence, as well as a customer. Both Quinn and Ben will tell some really interesting stories about how they're leveraging AI to create value. Throughout the course of today's event, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box featured in the software. So I'd like to begin today's discussion about how at Snowflake we are seeing AI become a prominent focus for the manufacturing and industrial industry. And at Snowflake, I have this privilege of meeting with hundreds of different manufacturing customers from around the world and listening to the challenges that they face within their business. And I'd like to start today's presentation by sharing some of those observations. But first, just a note from our lawyers. So what I see is that digital transformation is essential. And we see that prominently within the supply chain, where organizations are laser focused on how to not only maintain resiliency in their supply chain, but also maintain efficiency. We're also seeing tremendous transformation driven by environmental and social responsibility goals. No more prominently than seen within the automotive industry with this incredible transition from internal combustion to battery electric vehicles, or really in every supply chain, as organizations are trying to make sure that they're minimizing their carbon footprint in their end-to-end supply chains. And then lastly, it's a recognition that being a manufacturing organization, it's not just about having the best quality at the cheapest price anymore, but it's really about establishing relationships with customers and providing higher value services that can drive that business forward. And so this is what we see, is that organizations are looking for truly different approaches and strategies in their business. It's not about continuous improvement anymore. It's about transformation driven by innovation and modernization. And to do this, we believe you need data and AI to support you through that journey. So Snowflake's value proposition for manufacturers can be broken into three simple principles here. The first one is because Snowflake was built for the cloud, it's incredibly easy for our customers to bring together all types of data in one unified platform, whether that's structured, semi-structured, or unstructured data, or whether that's enterprise data from systems like ERP or CRMs, or from shop floor systems such as MES or SCADA systems. Snowflake can integrate all those data together in one single unified view of the organization. The second thing that Snowflake's offering for manufacturers is the ability to see upstream and downstream within the supply chain. And this is enabled through Snowflake's data collaboration capabilities. The idea of sharing data with key suppliers, customers, or partners that you do business with. And in addition to those collaborative capabilities, Snowflake also provides a very rich marketplace where you can tap into economic statistics about your markets or supply chain risks that are being monitored by third parties around the world. All of these data become more accessible in a Snowflake. And then lastly, every conversation is not complete without a discussion of AI, which is why we're here today, is to show you what you can do with AI and just how simple it is to do that with Snowflake, leveraging Snowflake's capabilities and our partners. And so we're thrilled to announce that the era of enterprise AI is here. And our goal today is to help you move forward on that path. So how do we do it? Well, Snowflake, quite simply put, is the AI data cloud. And we provide all of these capabilities here featured in this graphic, whether it's the traditional data warehousing, data lake, or data engineering capabilities, or more recent, our innovations in bringing AI and applications into the data platform so you have one complete package of capabilities. And we do this for our manufacturing industry. We make it relevant to manufacturers by providing this great platform, and we complement that with outstanding partners in the industry that have proven success delivering on manufacturing use cases, leveraging Snowflake's strengths. And we'll feature one of our partners today, Landing AI, who does just that. Well, all these capabilities open up so many opportunities within manufacturing. Featured here are just some of the many use cases we see customers developing and deploying within Snowflake. Whether it's focusing on shop floor or organizational efficiency, with use cases such as equipment or maintenance, equipment repair or maintenance, whether it's optimizing the energy usage on the shop floor or autonomous material delivery. Or it could be about focusing on product quality with things like anomaly detection or vision-based defect detection, which you'll see in just a moment. Or lastly, in the supply chain, which is all about using AI to better sense opportunities and risks and capitalize on those opportunities. All of these use cases become possible to you when you build on the Snowflake platform. And our strategy is quite simple. Our goal here is to provide you a framework that makes it easy, efficient, and trusted to deliver AI solutions. And we do that by first providing great data and model governance through capabilities known as Snowflake Horizon or Model Registry. And from there, we offer you two different toolkits, one for developing generative AI, which we call Cortex, or one for machine learning, or Snowflake ML. And our goal is to make these incredibly simple so that anybody can use these, whether you're a data scientist with a PhD in statistics, or you're an analyst who's really comfortable working in SQL and BI environments. These capabilities are all available to you. And lastly, we bring these to life in application development through the use of Snowflake Studio, our notebooks, the ability to create Streamlit applications in a couple dozen lines of Python, or leveraging Snowflake's Copilot. All of this comes together to provide a single platform to develop and deliver AI solutions running all under Snowflake's governed roof. So I'm going to take a moment just to show a little bit about what Snowflake's doing in generative AI and just prove a point how simple it is to use these capabilities. Snowflake AI requires 3 simple steps. First, select out of 12 different models available which large language model you'd like to use. Second, you're going to define a prompt for that model. And third, you're going to point the model at a table of data. Now, in this example, we're going to show how Snowflake Cortex can actually look at data within SEC filings of different companies within a supply chain. And we're going to ask Cortex what supply chain issues are being discussed in these documents, these SEC filings. And so when we do that, we get an answer back like this. We've taken a large body of unstructured data, documents that are dozens and dozens of pages long in these SEC filings, and we've extracted very precise answers to our question about supply chain risk. In this example, we see there are mentions around raw material shortage, supply constraints, labor constraints, and other things that may be useful knowledge as we consider risks or opportunities within our overall supply chain. So this is just one example of how easy it is and how AI can be accessed within Snowflake's environment with just a few lines of code to bring these rich insights into a supply chain context. To joining us in the AI Data Cloud, where you'll be one of thousands of organizations that are leveraging data and AI to deliver solutions to their business. Next, I would like to welcome Quinn Killow to the stage from Landing AI. Quinn, would you mind introducing yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim, for the introduction, or the quick introduction. My name's Quinn Killow. I'm with Landing AI. I'm a computer vision specialist, and I've been with this company for 5 years, really helping our customers to achieve value from artificial intelligence, specifically in the space of visual AI or visual data. My background is in the manufacturing space, and I'm going to be spending the time today to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the visual AI space, specifically within manufacturing. So excited to jump into it. Great. So hopping into the presentation here, I'd like to first step back and introduce Landing AI as a company. So we were a company founded on helping customers to achieve value from AI, and very quickly became focused on visual AI. And what we mean by visual AI is essentially getting insights from any type of visual data. So that could be images, videos, MRIs, X-rays, anything that can be represented visually. We're enabling our customers to get value and insights from those. And we do that through our flagship product, which is called Landing Lens. So Landing Lens is really a developer's tool. It's an end-to-end visual AI platform where these developers can come in, bring their images, train computer vision models or visual AI solutions, deploy them, and maintain them once they're deployed. We apply this technology across a wide range of industries. A lot of what we do is in the manufacturing space, so everything from semiconductor to medical devices to automotive. The use cases vary substantially, but the challenges around vision and the benefits they can get are very similar. So moving forward here, I think it's helpful to understand how this technology can be applied and what types of use cases people are tackling. So these are some kind of higher level categories that these fall into. First of all is defect detection and classification. I would say this is the vast majority of what people are doing in the manufacturing space. So finding and classifying defects on the production line for quality. But there's other categories as well. So robotic guidance, using vision to guide a robot to do a specific task, such as bin picking or sorting. Safety applications, so using vision to make sure that employees are wearing PPE or following safety procedures. Assembly verification, so making sure that an operator who's putting together a kit of something is including all the different pieces and that they're all present and not oriented improperly. There's also applications like sorting and counting, or just OCR, where we're looking at text and reading text with visual models. And there's all these use cases, but there's also challenges associated with visual AI, and really what we're hoping to tackle with Landing Lens, and specifically Landing Lens on Snowflake. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So some of the main challenges that we're seeing are, first, data quality and availability. So the availability of the data to actually train the models in the first place. I think most people are aware that training an AI model requires a set of data. In this case, it's images or videos. And a lot of times in the applications that we're targeting, finding enough images or video of the thing that we're trying to find can be a little bit challenging. Or it might be challenging to actually share that data to a tool based on the kind of security or compliance or IP of those images. And we'll come back to that in a little bit on how Snowflake helps with that front. There's also development time and return on investment. So a lot of our customers are struggling to build and deploy vision applications fast enough before they adopt the right tools. So these projects will get stuck in kind of a POC stage and never really get to production. And by the time they do get to production, it might not justify the investment for that automation. There's also democratization and scalability. So we see often that folks are trying to build these solutions in one-off manners. They're trying to piece together a bunch of different tools, like a labeling tool, a training tool, a deployment mechanism, and kind of piecemeal these projects together. What we find is that that is not a very scalable way of going about it. It's not easy to share, and these projects aren't adopted at scale across these organizations. And then finally is this kind of concept of balancing both cloud and edge. So I think it's well known that developers like to work in these cloud-based platforms because of the benefits that they bring. But in the manufacturing space, they also need to balance that with the fact that these models need to run fast, oftentimes for real-time inspections. So oftentimes they need to actually deploy these models to an edge environment. So they kind of need to balance the two different aspects there. And that's really where Landing Lens comes in. So Landing Lens is a tool that has three major modules. It's fairly straightforward. It's UI-based. Developers bring their images. They label those images. Once they've got a data set labeled, they can do a quick training with just a click of a button. And then they can evaluate the performance of their model before actually taking it to deployment. And deployment allows them to bundle up this model and actually run it either in the cloud or on the edge. And it doesn't just end there. We also have mechanisms to actually monitor those deployments and feed that production data back into our development environment so that these things can continuously be retrained and improved over time. And this brings in a number of different benefits. First of all, getting better performance with less data. Data availability, like I talked about, is always a challenge. So being able to get better performance with less is a great benefit. Rapidly iterating on these solutions. These AI projects, they are always iterative. You end up training multiple versions of these models. So having a quick and easy way to go back to previous steps and feed them into a trained model and train a model in just seconds allows you to do that rapid iteration and get to the performance metrics that you're looking for much more quickly. Deploying faster and enhancing those models once they're deployed is another aspect of this. So with an easy deployment mechanism, you can now deploy models that maybe aren't 100% performant yet into a live production setting, but not necessarily impact production. You can run it in kind of a shadow mode and allow the model to kind of learn off of production data before you actually truly turn it on. So having, again, this end-to-end workflow that allows you to stream that production data into your kind of training environment is super helpful. And then finally, the flexibility and scalability of with the edge performance, right? So with cloud, you get the flexibility and scalability to build multiple projects, to level up your resources over time. If you're training multiple jobs at once, you can have hundreds of people using the product at the same time. So you get all those benefits of the cloud, but you can also take these cloud trained models and deploy them to the edge. And then the last piece I'd really talk about is standardization and compliance. If you have a developer who's building together that piecemeal solution like I was talking about earlier, it's really hard to standardize on that workflow for building and deploying these models. It's hard to document, and that can be a challenge from a compliance standpoint or in kind of stringent manufacturing settings. Whereas when you have a platform that's kind of got it all in one place, you can know, what data set was used, who trained the model, what parameters were set for that model training, where it was deployed, et cetera. All of that is easily available for this type of documentation. So going forward here, I think it's really cool now that we're able to run 100% within Snowflake. So we've taken this whole development environment, this whole end-to-end platform, and plugged it into Snowflake. So we're actually bringing it to where the data is. And this helps a lot with the compliance around data privacy and IP, right? So we're operating within this already approved data platform and bringing the compute to where the data is, which is really cool. Brings up a lot of different benefits. But one of the coolest things that I've seen is we can now take visual data and kind of turn it into tabular data, or take unstructured data and turn it into structured data through using these vision models that are deployed. And now that's one more data stream that can feed into Snowflake, where you can then run some of these really cool applications like Tim was showing, leveraging things like large language models, et cetera, to get even more out of your production data. So for example, we could query against our historical, let's say we're running a defect detection, we could run a query against our historical defect data and ask a large language model, okay, what does my defect trend look like for the last 20 days? And you can think of that as a really cool tool that a quality manager or someone in that space could leverage. So we're really excited about being able to run within the Snowflake environment. We do have a customer story I'd like to hit on here. This is a customer, they're called Opto22, and they create PLCs. They manufacture their own PLCs. And I've got a video running here on the side kind of showcasing the process, but essentially they used Landing Lens within Snowflake to build a vision model to look at the PCBs that go into their PLCs. They have a process where they coat these with a conformal coating, and they need to make sure that that coating is covering the right areas and not covering the wrong areas, and also to make sure that there's kind of the proper thickness as well. So they were able to build a model within Landing Lens, within Snowflake, and deploy that model. And here you can see on the side some of the outputs that it's providing. So it's recognizing that conformal coding and flagging the defects automatically. So this was pretty cool. We were able to get to 100% precision on this model and outperform the inspectors in a Gauge R&R study. So really cool application, and hopefully gives some insight onto how this visual AI can be used in a production setting. So with that, I'd like to wrap up my section of the presentation and just kind of highlight some of the key points here. I think with an end-to-end platform, we can address a lot of the challenges in the vision space around kind of streamlining these vision tasks and getting to deployment and getting good ROI out of these vision projects. And with Snowflake, with landing AI running within Snowflake, we're checking a number of other boxes as well around the data privacy and governance, while also enabling these additional downstream applications and layers to be run on top of these projects. So with that, I'll wrap up and hand it back to you, Tim.
Okay. Thank you so much, Quinn. And now for my favorite part of my job, which is the opportunity to meet with customers and celebrate the success that they've had delivering analytics solutions, and in this case, an AI solution to their business. So Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you mind just taking a moment and introducing yourself and Harkins Builders for those who may not be familiar with the company?
Tim, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here. Very happy to be here to talk about some of the success that we've had with Snowflake and leveraging the AI capabilities here at Harkins. My name is Ben Pexon. I'm a data and software engineer at Harkins Builders. I have a bachelor's in computer science from Towson University, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here to talk to you about what myself, Patrick Hennessy, and Nick Lopato here at Harkins Analytics, what we are doing to bring AI to Harkins Builders in a practical, usable way.
Awesome. That's awesome. And so I understand you've done a lot of different projects, but one of them in particular that I wanted to talk about with you is related to a challenge in the construction industry that has to do with the transition from planning a project into the active construction and making sure that's smooth and efficient, and so I wonder, can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that might come up in that transition and why that's so critical in the success of your business?
Absolutely. So construction can be thought of in two phases, the pre-construction phase and the construction phase. Everything leading up to construction, the actual building of the building, is in itself a massive production, and it takes a team of estimators to bid out the job, and they're backed up by our marketing team and our business development team who find them those jobs. What our marketing team has to do is advertise the projects that we're working on. So at turnover, our estimators who have had the experience working on the project will write out what we call a turnover narrative. That helps inform all of our marketing materials, including fact sheets, resumes, and other materials that better help us communicate what Harkins is doing as an organization.
Okay, excellent. And so that turnover is really important for, I guess, the success of those projects. So now my question is, I understand that you've taken a fresh approach to this classic problem in construction using generative AI. I wondered if you can maybe tell us a little bit about how you approach that.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do, and when we talk about AI, I feel like there's a lot of ideas and a lot of tools that are out there that may not be accessible to your average everyday end user, someone who's just trying to get their job done. And as I've been approached by different people at Harkins to tackle this problem, I've run into different challenges on how to best deliver this. And I kind of had a light bulb moment one day. I was with my daughter, and my daughter Violet Pexon, and she's 4.5 years old, and right now her world is cupcakes and unicorns and princesses. And one day we were waiting in the doctor's office, and she's getting a little antsy. She's a great kid, but you wait so long, and eventually you get bored. And I had my phone on me, and I've been playing around with ChatGPT, and my daughter is an artist, pure artist at heart. And I showed her some of the capabilities of Dolly. And at first, she didn't know how to use it. She would have said maybe first, oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what I want. And I would say, well, honey, what about a picture of a doggy? And she would say, oh, that's fantastic. Then we got more cool. We made pictures of doggy princesses, and we did doggy cupcakes, and just all sorts of different just kind of artistic ideas that she had come up with in her head. And she eventually started coming to me asking me to use ChatGPT to make these images. And she got to the point where she's no longer just making princesses and cupcakes. She's making princesses jumping over lakes of fire. She's making castles built out of cupcakes. And she's doing all this really cool stuff. And what I realized is that there was a relationship between me and her. The relationship was that I was the broker, the person who could translate her ideas into prompts for an LLM. And what I realized is if my daughter can do that, she's 4 years old, I think I can help other people do that. So understanding this relationship between myself and my daughter as kind of an interpreter for AI, I realized that what you needed was a data set, and my daughter was providing that. She was providing all the ideas from her head, all the different artistic ideas that she wanted to display. And I served as the prompt builder. And we use ChatGPT as our LLM, as our generative AI. What I realized is this very simple architecture could be applied at Harkins Builders using Snowflake. Our projects, to make a turnover narrative, we use our CRM system Dynamics, where we keep all of our information. What I've built out is an app, and I'd like to show you just exactly how. So here at Harkins, the solution that we've brought is AI-generated turnover narratives. And we start by selecting a project. Here, we reach out to Snowflake to gather the relevant information about that project, whether it be from our CRM system or from Procore or elsewhere. This serves as an opportunity for our estimators to review the data that is stored in Snowflake about that project. And we can see here that there's an absolute ton of data here. I'm going to go ahead and generate prompts for Snowflake Cortex. And what you see here is the result of the prompt builder. Here we see that Brightview Hunt Valley Town Center is a new construction project in Baltimore County. It describes the project details, it describes the construction methods, it describes project innovations, classifications, and any challenges. And this was all done using Python. We just gathered the data from Snowflake. Now we're going to send these prompts to Snowflake and return our narrative. And you can see these settings here are actually settings that we as users can change and affect. These are some of the capabilities that I wanted to have for power users. And here you go. We have a coherent turnover narrative with attention to grammar, tone, format, and length. And so what we can do is we can, if we so choose to, if this isn't how we want it, we can take our narrative and continue to iterate upon it and improve it. Could you expand on the construction processes? Particularly in regards to the HVAC systems. And we can go down here and generate an entirely new narrative. It's going to take in the settings that we've given it and tailor it to our needs. And you might get something that comes back with a little bit more on the air system, the air conditioning systems, and the cooling and heating. And that's just one example of how we plan to use AI here at Harkins.
Fantastic, Ben. Thank you so much for sharing that live demo on a webinar, and really cool solution. You know, so many times we talk about large language models answering questions for us and searching documents for insights and things like that. But I love this example because it shows the other way around, how you can use this to help generate documents and these narratives that are part of this critical handover step in the construction project, and all the efficiencies that you gain from that. I wonder if you ran into any particular challenges as you were developing this that you could share with us?
We ran into, I would say, a tremendous amount of challenges that led me to that light bulb moment. I'd initially tried to use ChatGPT to generate the narratives. And what we found was when putting someone in front of a screen, in front of an LLM with no guidance, it was very difficult. First, you had to spend time gathering the data, gathering the resources for the prompts that you're going to build. Second, you have to write the prompts. And someone who's not experienced with generative AI may not know the best way to talk to an LLM to get a standardized response. And I think that's where we come in. And that's why the prompt builder is so important, because not only are we gathering all the data, but we're formatting it in a way that is easily editable, and reviewed by the person who's ultimately going to put the final seal of approval on this. We didn't want to just generate narratives willy-nilly, because we saw that there were some inconsistencies or perhaps inaccuracies. In our opinion, there needs to be some human element to guide or observe the AI production, because when you're generating documents, there's a lot of room for error and hallucinations, as anyone who's worked with AI is familiar with.
Yeah.
And so one of the challenges was, well, what software do we use? What do we build? And I actually started building that app in Streamlit. So I have to give a lot of credit to Snowflake, because they kind of showed me how a simple UI would be a tremendous proof of concept. And I showed that to our marketing team, and they were blown away by the simplicity of use. And so what we decided to do was develop a custom app and deploy it to our people for use in everyday situations.
Fantastic. So can never underestimate the value of a great prompt. And I really love your story here of how you take on the role of being that interpreter, that interface between the user, and creating a great prompt and the AI solution. So tell us a little bit about how this has been received within your organization. How have people reacted to it? Can you describe, maybe it's already made an impact in your business?
So the reception's been phenomenal, overwhelmingly positive. People see it as a step into the future, as a step into where construction as an industry is heading. And I mean, I sit down with these guys, and these estimators at Harkins Builders work incredibly hard. And it can take sometimes up to an hour to write a narrative. And in my opinion, I don't care if, we have Shakespeare on our team here at Harkins Builders as an estimator. I would rather him be writing Shakespeare, Hamlet or Romeo and Juliet, rather than working on these. This isn't creative writing. This is there's a formula to writing these turnover narratives in a way that is effective and informative. And that's all we need. So if I can give back one of our estimators an hour of their day, that in itself is a success, because I know they're going to use that time wisely for building their relationships with our trade partners, bidding out jobs, and the tremendous amount of other work that they have to do.
Excellent. That's great to hear. Positive reception and efficiency gains. That's what we see across a lot of our customers as well. So thrilled to hear that you're seeing that benefit there. So just let's look forward a little bit here. You've got success now under your belt, delivering an AI solution using Snowflake and Cortex. And what other opportunities are you thinking about, or what's next for you?
So I showed you the UI for our app, and it said AI-generated turnover narratives. And what we'd like is to have AI-generated documents. We're looking for other opportunities, other situations where we can identify where our architecture will apply. And that architecture, again, is just a data set, a data source. We have the prompt builder, and then we have an LLM solution, which in our case is Snowflake Cortex.
Awesome.
We see ourselves using ML, Snowflake machine learning, in our financial forecasting app that we are working on. We plan to use it to try and do anomaly detection for safety incidents to see if we can try and identify high-risk projects where the next incident might happen and maybe prevent that. That's incredibly important to me. At Harkins, safety is extremely important, and it's incredibly rewarding whenever working with our safety team to make Harkins' jobs a safer place. And if we can do that, I think that would be everything, in my opinion.
That's awesome. I can't wait to talk with you about those solutions that you develop as well here, maybe in a future webinar, who knows? But I have only one final question for you, Ben, which is many of our customers, joining us today in this webinar are just getting started in their AI journey, and maybe they don't, they don't have a lot of experience yet working with these tools. I wonder, do you have any lessons learned that you could share, or any advice for those who are just getting started?
Absolutely. My first suggestion would be to open your door. Let people know that you have a receptive ear for ideas about AI. I did not come up with the idea to create turnover narratives through AI. Our marketing manager here, Kristen Schuler at Harkins Builders, came to me earlier this year and said, "Hey, Ben, do you think you could do this?" And I said, "You know what? It's going to be a stretch, but let me see what I can do." And what I found was it was a challenge. It took a little bit of time. And pursuing different routes of using AI, I think, is extremely important, because you can learn from your mistakes by pursuing a path that may not be very fruitful. If you can learn from that experience, you can apply it elsewhere. And that's ultimately how I got to using Snowflake, because I found that using ChatGPT required too much overhead, too much maintenance, too much tailoring. Same thing with Microsoft Bing and Microsoft Copilot. We really took some time to nail down what worked here, to find a formula.
That's great. I think that, innovation always requires that open mind, and, it requires this collaboration throughout the organization to make truly transformational change driven from innovation. So I love that lesson learned. Well, thank you so much, Ben, for sharing your story and doing a live demo on a webinar. It takes a lot of guts, and I just love the story at Harkins of what you've been able to do with generative AI. So big thank you to Ben, and also to Quinn from Landing AI joining us today and showing the amazing technology that Landing has built in a Snowflake native application. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today on this AI-powered manufacturing webinar. I hope that you've enjoyed the time with us today and ideally learned some things as well. And I look forward to seeing you down the road in the AI Data Cloud. Thank you. We'll see you next time.